Dustin, just what's your week been like here in Winnipeg, man?
It's been fun, man. I have my wife out here with me. I don't have a fight scheduled, so get some sweat in the morning, work out, run a little bit, and then see the city, eat some food, and drink some beers at night. But just hanging out, really.
You kind of like doing that, just being the company guy, kind of representing, doing the Q&A, interacting with the fans, stuff like that.
I mean, I do enjoy it, but honestly, who I am, if I'm not getting ready for a fight or have something coming up, I feel kind of like, what am I doing with what am I doing with my life? I need to be preparing for something. I'm just that kind of guy. I need to be busy. So I do enjoy this here and there, but I'd rather be in a training camp, honestly.
So nothing on the horizon right now. I mean, obviously you're talking, but
yeah,
you're not in this.
There's nothing, I'm obviously going crazy trying to push for this Eddie fight rematch. But if that doesn't come together, I have no clue what's next. And the division's so top heavy and blocked up right now. No telling what's going to happen.
Why do you think he's not interested in getting a rematch with you?
I think he knows it's a bad matchup. His camp knows it's a bad matchup. I mean, did you watch the first fight?
I did.
I mean, yeah, that's why I think. And he's coming off of a win. He kind of got that bad taste out of that bad memory out of the fans' heads of the last fight, and he wants to keep moving forward. And obviously the guy's not scared to fight anybody. He's one of the best fighters in the world. He's been fighting the best for a long time. But he's a smart guy, and he knows it's probably a bad matchup for him to do that again.
Obviously, you're quite active in interviews and social media. You're trying to push for this fight. Is there anything you think you can do to try and convince Eddie or apply some external pressure on him so this fight does happen?
I don't know, man. Like you said, maybe I need to go out and run a couple sprints up the steps in Philly like Rocky, and maybe that'll get him moving.
Well, outside of Eddie, I mean, is there anybody that makes sense? I mean, I feel like you're going to be let down if they offer you somebody that's not Eddie.
I will be, honestly.
Yeah.
I feel like this fight makes a lot of sense, even if we didn't have previous history. And the way that fight ended, it's and then what happened after that fight, he got rewarded with a TV show and a big fight against Gaethje, and I had to fight another former champion just to get back to talk about Eddie again. I just feel like it's the perfect storm, man. This fight is going to happen, I feel.
Well, speaking of Gaethje, I know he just got that loss, but I mean, is that a fight that you hope to have one day, possibly?
Yeah, I'm sure it's a fight that will happen eventually. I mean, he's a young guy. I'm a young guy. We're both towards the top of the division. It's got to happen sooner or later.
Did Eddie surprise you in that fight? I think a lot of people were thinking that Justin was maybe going to be too much for him, but what did you think about that fight?
I kept going back and forth. As the fight got closer, I would think Eddie was going to win. Then the next day I would kind of be leaning toward Justin. But as it started happening and unfolding, I thought that Eddie fought a smart fight. He used his fight IQ, used his skills, used the game plan. They went to the body a lot, used in and out movement. But I've said it probably 15 times now. It's not hard to look great against a guy who doesn't move with you. If you're the one moving around, throwing shots, and the guy's planting his feet, you look like an incredible striker. Eddie couldn't box his way out of a wet paper bag in Dallas, Texas when he fought. You know what I mean?
There's been so much up in the air with Conor McGregor. Is he going to box? Is he going to do MMA? He did come out with TMZ today in an interview and said his next fight will be MMA. I mean, for you and the rest of the lightweights, is that as music to your ears?
Yeah, because the division needs to be back in motion. Things need to happen. I think the first fight should be him and Tony to, see who has the real belt. And then after that, maybe the winner of Khabib and Edson probably is next in line. There's just so many fights that need to happen to get this division moving again. Is
it just strange to see a champion, both in Cage Warriors and now in the UFC, that hasn't ever defended a title in his entire career?
It's a weird stat, but I don't think it's because the guy's worried about, he's making money. He's making money and trying to get money fights and having a good time. It's a weird stat to have, definitely. 4 belts, never had title defense.
As a fight, well, actually, as a fan, I'm assuming you're a fan of the sport too.
Yeah, big fan of all combat sports.
You talked about Eddie. You're a big fan of him. Like, what does that feel like to look up to a fighter and of course fight him, but then just that's not the same guy I thought he was.
And I'm still a fan of his fighting. Like the Gaethje fight, I was clapping, I was on my feet. We were watching it with some friends, and it was an amazing fight. I enjoyed watching it, but I know him a little bit more now than that. I know, him as a person a little bit, the way he reacted after the R fight and things he said and stuff like that. So I just kind of feel like he's a dirtbag a little bit. But it's all good.
I know. I'll get more.
Knockout, wow.
on a more positive note, how did those auctions go for your fight kits?
The first one was awesome, man. We raised 3,000 meals for families in Lafayette, Louisiana. In this last auction, we raised $7,500 for a police officer's wife, a fallen police officer's wife, and 3 daughters. And that felt real good. I actually got to knock on her door with the check and give it to her in person, and it was awesome, man.
I saw this morning there was a social media post, you and DC getting some training in. And I think Daniel kind of hinted on his Instagram post a potential partnership that you guys are going to maybe come together, maybe open a gym or do something in Louisiana. Is that correct?
Yeah, me and Daniel have been going back and forth, talking every week, and he's got a lot on his plate right now. You know, he's a husband and a father, and he owns businesses as well right now, and he's preparing for another title defense here in January. So he's a busy man, but we talk every now and then, and these last few weeks we've been going back and forth with the idea of coming together, kind of like Bisbing and Swanson did, and maybe doing a UFC gym, a nice big UFC gym in Lafayette, Louisiana, on the side of town that's kind of growing and booming right now. So I think it's a good idea, but we'll see after he defends his belt.
I'm kind of going back in time a little bit, but what was the last time, when's the last time you watched your documentary fight, Bill?
It's been a while. It's been years, man, years and years. But that's good though, because I'm sure I'm gonna forget a bunch of parts and a bunch of scenes, and when I do rewatch it, it's gonna be that special again.
Is that, if you did watch it, would that seem like a different person now, or?
Yeah, for sure. Every fight I watch, much less years and years ago, a documentary that was shot when I was at the beginning of the documentary, I was still an amateur fighter. So yeah, but I'm a different fighter. I'm a different person every fight. I grow through life and learn things and push myself, and just that's what you have to do in this sport to stay relevant. You have to be evolving and growing and doing new things and learning from losses and learning from wins. But it's cool to have that piece of my life captured on film forever. When my daughter's old enough to understand what's going on, she can watch that. One day when I have grandchildren, they'll be able to watch that. So for history, for eternity, that's going to be a piece of my life captured. And I think it really shows a pretty good description of who I am as a person. I was a young guy, but it showed I was a hard worker. And how awesome will that documentary be if I become the world champion? It's going to mean that much more. All of the, nothing I'm doing is in vain, man. I really believe I'm going to be world champion.
Yeah, you're one of those fighters that seems to have a roadmap, a very kind of strict vision of what's going to happen, and you keep saying that this time next year you're going to have that gold wrapped around your kind of waist. And what kind of goes into that mentality? Like, do you wake up every day? Do you kind of look in the mirror? Do you visualize? Like, what's that process like for you?
I started about 3 or 4 fights ago. I started having a mental coach for the first time in my life, and we kind of talk about things. So I'm visualizing a lot of stuff more. I'm writing down stuff every morning, going over what matters, what I can control, what I can't control, just stressing about, or pulling out the stress, I should say, stressing less about stuff that I just have no control over. All I can control is me. So whatever happens with the opponents and what happens in the division, fights that get made, fights that don't get made ahead of me, really, there's no reason for me to even worry about it, because as long as me and my family are good, I'm getting better, pushing myself every day. I'm going in the right direction.
We got a chance to speak to your other half yesterday, and this weekend you're away from your little one. What's that like? Is it being away from your kid?
I think I had 3 or 4 fights since she's been born, so I've been away from her a few times, but this is the furthest my wife's been from her, so she's kind of, texting her mom and getting pictures every 5 minutes. What's she doing? She's real worried, but she's a great mother, and I miss her already too. My daughter is everything, man. My family's my anchor. I'll never do a training camp without them. I'll never go to a fight week without them, and they're why I do this now. Over your career, things change. I used to fight just for me. I used to fight because a lot of reasons, but now I fight for my family. And like I said yesterday at the Q&A, somebody asked me, and it makes fighting easier. I know they're going to be there when I get out of that cage, win or lose. I used to feel like it was life or death every scenario, every interview, every fight I would overthink, over-prepare for, over-analyze. Now, it's just fighting. I'm a father and a husband. Fighting is second to me.
Cool. Nice one, Dustin. Thanks,
man.
Thank you.
Thanks.